pleasant good morning to you. It is Wednesday, May the 18th. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. Are Barbadians feeling the pinch of higher poultry and meat prices already? That's the question we're hoping to answer here on the Morning Report this morning. Consumers are saying they're already seeing the increases reflected in their supermarket bills just 2 weeks after the price for feed went up by 8%, and that is coming from Pinnacle Feeds Limited. So let's find out what exactly is happening on the ground, and as we take a look at other issues in agriculture with James Paul. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Society. Good to have you back here with me on the Morning Report.
Good morning, and to your viewers, good morning.
So James, can you answer that? Are the prices already going up, and are you already seeing those increases being reflected across the board on supermarket shelves and of course for meat and other poultry products?
In respect of the poultry, I do understand that some prices have already gone up. This is at the retail end. In terms of the producers, I think that there are producers still who have not taken up the prices. I want to say so because one of the things that they have been trying to get guidance from is in terms of trying to determine, talking to a lot of them, is that they're not sure how they can increase and if they can increase and the amount. So I would say that at this point in time, it is a mixed situation where they haven't been, though, at the farm gate level, there haven't been a unanimous increase in prices at the same time because there are some persons who are still competing heavily in terms of trying to keep their prices down.
So how can there still be price increases at the retail end? You said some producers haven't gone that route just yet and are holding strain, but on the retail end, the price increases are there. So are you saying that some of the retailers are going ahead with their price increases even though they're not absorbing the price increase from Pinnacle Feeds, the 8%?
Well, certainly the retailers are not dependent on the prices set by producers because you find that in some cases a retailer will do what he thinks is necessary to keep his business to make the return that he wants to make or the margins, and that is possible. In other words, despite the fact that they might not have increased the amount that they purchase chickens at, they themselves, yes, would increase it because they might argue that they are suffering increases in terms of other things like electricity and other inputs for them at the retailers end. This is one of the things, of course, that we have always seen in the sector, where because of the fact that some producers do not have any retail outlets, it means then that they are heavily dependent on retailers to actually give them the type of price that they need.
So we had roughly 2 weeks to really look at this situation and see how it would affect consumers. Has the BAS been able to come up with any solutions to help on the producers' side of things?
At this time, no. I'll be very frank with you because what we have seen, again, remember, this is a pattern that has emerged over some time, over 2-3 years, where there have been constant increases in the cost of inputs at the level of the farm. And it has what it has done in some cases is erode operating margins. And let's face facts. A business operates on its ability to generate a surplus to sort of help it to invest later on to keep its business afloat. And what we have seen in some cases is double-digit increases in terms of cost of inputs. Again, I go back, for instance, and I don't want to ignore the fact that government for some of our farming enterprises have been able now to come with a common water rate, which is $2. And when you add in the GST, it's $2.70 per cubic meter. Water is a significant item, which of course we have argued within the BAS that farmers should not be paying as much as over $9 per cubic meter. And that is what is happening in some cases. So for some farmers, by the way, that represents a saving. But for other farmers, of course, it meant an increase, especially those on the IRDP program, which I understand has not been fully implemented as yet. But the point is really that overall, farmers in Barbados had to suffer from increases over the last 2 years, which they have not been able to recover. So I don't know what strategy that we can work to tell them to hold prices at this time when the operations have been hemorrhaging pretty bad.
Speaking to poultry specifically now, I'm still hearing about shortages in some areas. The last time we had you on, that was on the People's Business, you made it clear that, in your opinion, there were no shortages in the poultry industry. Can you give us an update on the situation there?
Well, first of all, we are just, again, based on placements that we receive on a monthly basis from the hatcheries in terms of, and that records all of the chickens that are purchased on the hatcheries for placement on the farms. We have not had any indication that, even based on last year's performance, that there have been a lower than level placement in the industry. In some cases, there have been increases. So if we go according to what the market normally does, there have been no significant reductions in the production of poultry, if any at all. The point, though, I think that we have to understand is the level of subterfuge here. Because, on the other hand, what we are seeing is an attempt by some wholesalers and importers to use this as an excuse for the importation of other chicken products under different headings. And that in itself, I know, is causing problems. And you know, when you look at the prices that are being charged for these products, they are significantly higher. I mean, when you can work out that, for instance, you are charging something like $19.50, 56 cents a pound, and putting it on supermarket shelves, and supermarkets are actually entertaining this thing. And I make the point that where is the demonstrated loyalty that's required at this point in time, where I believe those same importers should be working with our local producers to see how we can actually facilitate the production of such products. But we are engaging in the importation of products of conspicuous consumption at a time when and apparently they are, for what I understand, they are being sold at a time when, you know, we are claiming that it's so hard for consumers. For which consumers? That's the point.
What do you foresee as the Barbados Agricultural Society works with those not only on the meat side of things, not only those poultry and meat producers, but the farmers as well, those produce farmers? What do you foresee as some of the main challenges outside of the increase in feed prices going forward?
Well, the main challenge that farmers will face is that we do not know where input prices will end, because I want consumers to understand that the war in Ukraine is taking a heavy toll on the farming sector, heavy toll, where, as I said before, some prices for inputs have gone up by 100%, and that is significant. And then, of course, in the face of the fact that a lot of farming operations do require things such as same fuel that we are complaining about as an input, it will have an impact, and I want people to understand this. But and even in relation to pork, you know, again, it will have an impact. How we are trying to mitigate against that? I think I don't want consumers to think that somehow we are just sitting down and not trying to look at strategies as to how we can mitigate against it, which are limited. How we are trying to mitigate against it is to try to improve efficiencies on the farm. In other words, like, if we can be more productive, more efficient. In the case of, for instance, the pork sector, we are looking to see how we can actually improve the genetics to make sure that, for instance, we improve feed conversions. That is the amount of feed that you are required to produce a pound of pork. Even in poultry farm, the same thing. We are trying to improve feed conversions and trying to manage it in a situation where we are not engaging in too much wastage. Dairy farmers have their challenges too, and I think that I want to compliment the Pine Hill Dairy for some initiatives that are being undertaken within the industry to ensure that, for instance, dairy farmers will remain competitive. But in the face of all of this, we have to face the fact that our farmers are challenged by these huge increases, and then we have to face the fact that we have importers acting in such a way as to basically undermine the market. And I also remember capacity matters in this environment. For instance, our ability to sustain the current prices is dependent upon farmers and the whole agricultural establishment being able to find a market for the amount of commodities that it produces right now. But if we have a decline, it means that our overhead costs will start to go up, and that in itself is a severe challenge. So obviously we are appealing to the loyalty and understanding of Barbadian consumers that we are all in this together, and basically that we are trying our best to try and hold prices in the face of outside competition, which certainly does not have the Barbadian interests at heart.
And then I'm seeing another story here that we'll be bringing this morning about an increase in fertilizer prices as well. Another input cost that is going up. James, I really hope that there can be some end to this crisis facing the agricultural sector. But you do what you can for the BAS, and of course we will continue to check in with you and see how farmers are doing here on the island. But you be safe until next time we have a conversation.
You too. Thanks very much.
James Paul is the Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Society, spending some time with us here live on the Morning Report. We'll take a break here. We have to talk about another increase in COVID-19 cases here on the island. You'll hear exactly what the number was yesterday. And we'll talk a bit more about what is happening across the region with COVID-19, how it's affecting some of the region's children. And we have some more stories coming out of Ukraine. COVID-19 cases here in Barbados trending upwards again. This time around, the Bahamas Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory detected 469 new cases. That's 193 males and 276 females testing positive for the virus yesterday. Among the 1,952 tests carried out by the Bahamas Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory, 330 of them were 18 years and older. There were 95 people in isolation facilities, while 4,340 people were in home isolation. As at May 16th, there were 434 COVID-19 related deaths. An additional 200 doses of pediatric Pfizer vaccine have arrived in the British Virgin Islands. Those doses are to ensure children there who have already received their initial doses of Pfizer vaccine can complete their vaccination course and be deemed fully vaccinated. The Minister of Health and Social Development in the BVI, Marlon Penn, says his government and the people of the Virgin Islands continue to be grateful for the continued support and assistance of the United Kingdom in its response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Pandemic. The UK government has and continues to give invaluable support in the areas of vaccine, but also technical support in a number of areas related to public health and the provision of supplies and equipment to support the territory's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This has included antiviral medications, ventilators, medical supplies, all of which have improved our readiness and supported our response in keeping the Virgin Islands safe during this very difficult time. As the pandemic has charged over the last 2 years, we have seen the emergence of new strains of COVID-19. Thankfully, the current Omicron variant and its associated subvariants, despite being more contagious, continue to be associated with much milder disease than previous variants.
Now, the Governor, John Rankin, is confident the pediatric doses will keep children of the British territory safe from COVID.
The COVID-19 outbreak has not gone away. New variants can arise, and some people, particularly vulnerable people in the vulnerable categories, remain at risk. So I would join you, and I know the Chief Medical Officer, encouraging persons in those categories not to procrastinate. Get vaccinated or get the boosters that you require to keep you safe and to help keep your loved ones safe as well. As I say, we remain committed to supporting the territory during this time, and Minister supporting you and your health colleagues in helping the people of the territory.
Let's go over to the Bahamas now, where the Minister of Education, Glenys Hanna-Martin, suggests that the prolonged reliance on virtual learning due to the COVID-19 pandemic has had a psychological impact on students there. She was at the time addressing recent outbreaks of violence on school campuses in that country. She says her ministry is looking to address the matter.
Hopefully this week we will begin, I will begin to bring together stakeholders, guidance counselors, school psychologists, and also private sector psychologists, with a view to garnering and understanding and getting data so that we can create interventions to get our young people back on track.
Further afield now, after months of efforts to defend the city of Mariupol from Russian invaders, Ukrainian troops have begun to withdraw after being outnumbered by their enemies.
After 82 days underground, these wounded Ukrainian soldiers are finally leaving the Azovstal steel plant on Russian buses displaying the letter Z, symbolic of its invasion. For months, these fighters from the Azov battalion attempted to defend the steel plant in Mariupol and prevent Russian soldiers from completely taking over the port city. But outnumbered and overpowered, Ukraine says its mission to defend the plant is over.
The defenders of Mariupol fulfilled all the tasks set by their commanders. Unfortunately, we do not have the opportunity to unblock Azovstal by military means.
The fight for the steelworks and the plight of civilians and fighters trapped there captured the world's attention. All women, children and elderly have already been rescued. President Volodymyr Zelensky says the priority now is to move out the rest of the fighters still in the plant.
Thanks to the actions of the Ukrainian military, the International Committee of the Red Cross and the UN, we hope that we will be able to save the lives of our guys. There are severely wounded soldiers among them. They've been given care. I want to stress that Ukraine needs Ukrainian heroes alive.
Those seriously wounded have been taken to a medical facility in the Russian-controlled town of Novoazovsk. They could become part of a prisoner swap. Ukrainian fighters say they held out in Azovstal for weeks to buy time for the rest of Ukraine to battle Russian forces and secure Western arms needed to withstand Russia's assault. But the evacuation marks the end of what could be one of the longest and most bloody battles of the Ukraine war. Mariupol is now in ruins, and Ukraine says tens of thousands of people have died.
We're praying for an end to the war, not only because of those affected by it, but so far away Barbados is, but we are feeling the pinch as well. Let's go over to Wendy now on this Wednesday to see what's happening on today's edition of Mornin Barbados. Wendy, how is it looking?
Good morning to you, Shane.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Well, it's a good morning generally, but we have some concerns this morning. and HIV is featuring prominently again. We will be looking at our sex workers and what's happening within that industry and the whole HIV, because there's now a new strategic plan, Shane, to help us in the management of this virus. We also desperately need some help for a little baby who's extremely sick and needs to be medevaced out of Barbados. So we'll be telling you how you can help save Mackay, and we want Barbadians to let their true humanitarian spirit come forward as we try to help save this little boy's life. And also, Shane, you know, technology is all a buzz. We're always on our phones, but we're going to be having a competition, and CBC's part of it as well, where you're going to be using your mobile phone to make a short film. We'll tell you how you can get involved. So details to these stories and more coming up on Morning Barbados.
Yes, I've been seeing those ads about those short films and the prizes on offer. So listen out for Wendy in a few minutes' time to find out more about that competition and how you can get involved. Here on the Morning Report, we focus on what is happening in the agriculture sector yet again, with these fertilizer prices hitting a record high. Details to this story and others coming up. Fertilizer prices hitting a record high this year due in part to supply shortages fueled by the war in Ukraine. As a key component in their operations, local farmers say the rising prices are having a significant impact on their livelihoods. Sharika Griffith investigates.
Faced with rising input costs, global supply challenges, and the impacts of climate change, there's a call for greater subsidies for local farmers to help ease the pinch. Farmer Kenneth Blades says his business has been impacted significantly by rising costs of raw materials such as fertilizers, sprays, and bags. He believes the solution lies in greater subsidies from government outside of those already being received for cultivation and irrigation equipment.
You buy a roll of drip, and it probably can last you the duration of your time into farming, or probably 5-10 years. Things like fertilizer, which you use every month, every week, sprays which you use every month, every week. These are the things that you need subsidies on, and that would help reduce the farmers' costs in the current environment today.
Mr. Blaze says passing on price increases to his customers is sometimes not an option.
who we, the farmers, supply food to, mainly the supermarkets and some hotels. At this time, they are trying to keep the prices to a minimum or a low, and with that, you find that the farmers tend to give in because the farmer don't want to know that he harvesting cucumbers and he has them on his hand. He prefer to take what is being offered to him or her than to let them go to waste. So that cost does not always get passed on. Sometimes the farmer absorbs that cost.
Water, or a lack of the precious commodity, has long plagued Blades and other farmers in River Plantation, St. Philip, who operate under the Land for the Landless program. But he says a new 6 million gallon water catchment, which is nearing completion, will bring some relief.
Look out for major developments in the housing sector within the next few weeks and months. This from the Housing Minister Dwight Sutherland, who is standing by his word that 49 people affected by Hurricane Elsa should be in their homes within the next 6 months. Furthermore, he says the massive relocation of squatters from Rock Hall in St. Philip will officially begin next week. Minister Sutherland says it's all part of a massive drive in the housing sector to get Barbadians into their own homes. He outlined the plan as he piloted a resolution through the House of Assembly to vest 14 acres of land at Fairy Valley in Christchurch to the Barbados National Oil Company Limited. The minister said this year they intended to build 1,400 homes, including at Parishland Extension, where the former Rock Hall residents will live, but he has issued this warning.
Don't go up there and mount no more houses. We have demarcated the area. No more houses will build. And Rock Hall is an environmental hazard up there and an accident waiting to happen. And we are relocating. Work started by the member for Christchurch West. I am carrying on the work. So you will join me, member, on Monday as we seek to demolish and relocate 7 to 8 houses, structures.
The housing minister says they're also addressing the issue of a huge backlog of over 25,000 applications at the National Housing Corporation.
I will bring to Cabinet, as instructed by the Prime Minister, that list of backlog. And we will categorize them in terms of income brackets so that we can determine what category they fall in, and we will deal with that backlog. We have started.
Let's get some sports in here now. Barbadian Rivaldo Leacock broke a 5-year-old national record over the weekend after winning the men's 400-meter hurdles at the MW Outdoor Championships in California. Running in lane 5 for the University of New Mexico, the 23-year-old clocked a time of 50.04 seconds, erasing the old mark he set back in June 2016 of 50.90 seconds. The time was also a facility record and school record as well. The previous record being 50.15 seconds set back in 1978.
In lane 7, a senior from Boise State, Jose Rubio. In lane 8, the junior from Colorado State, Jermaine Barnes. And in lane 9, the junior from Wyoming, Cage McComb. And so we're off and running. It's going to be a quick race here.
Leacock is 13th in the region, 23rd nationally, and he is out to a very strong start in the first 150 meters as he's making up the stagger on everyone on the outside of him at this point.
Well, he's been smooth on his hurdles, and there he is out in front. Leacock. Hackett is right behind him from Air Force. 2 more hurdles left, and Leacock's got a big lead.
Looks really smooth over the hurdles. You get a great picture here. You can see his form. Just clipped it with his front heel, but not enough to slow him down, and he comes through and wow!
Wow, indeed. And he would return to help his team win the men's 4x400 relay event. Congrats to Rivaldo. They're flying the Barbadian flag high. Let's take a pause here to look at the weather. The temperature is 26.6 degrees Celsius right now. It's partly cloudy on the outside. The humidity is up to 82% this morning. The barometric pressure is 15.5 millibars. And those winds have been pretty high over the last few days, coming out of the east at 37 kilometers per hour. You'll see a low tide this morning at 26 minutes to midday. The high tide will come our way at 13 minutes after 6 in the evening. Those seas are moderate in open water. Swells are peaking at 2 meters right now and increasing. Today we'll have a mix of sunshine and clouds, a bit of showers in the mix, and tonight a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief scattered light showers. And here is a look at the international weather forecast. That's it for the Wednesday edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. I'll be here at 7 with your headline news. Up next is Wendy Burke, though, with Mornin Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
And good morning to you. Good morning to you. It is Wednesday, May 18th. And this morning, I'm not going to wish you a wonderful Wednesday. I'm going to hope for you to make it a wishful Wednesday. Let's wish for some suffering, some pain, and happiness to enter the lives of those who may be among us that are hurting and need that healing. Yes, that's my wish for today. Now, this morning, we're going to be talking to some young women about the drive and the passion they have for working with HIV/AIDS, and especially the sex workers within our community. I want to welcome Cecilia Neblett-Brathwaite, who is of the National HIV/AIDS Committee, and she's going to be here to tell us all about their strategic plan, which will take us from 2020 to 2025. Good morning to you, Cecilia.
Hi, good morning, Wendy.
Yes, good morning to you. Hopefully we'll be joined by Tiffany a little later on. She's the president of Anonymous Hope, one of the organizations working along with you in this drive. Now, this national strategic plan, which has been set out to help deal with and combat the levels of HIV and STIs in Barbados. Let's talk to you about them, but before we get to that, good morning to you, Tiffany.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning to you and welcome. She's the president of Anonymous Hope. Yes, as I was saying, Cecilia, the plan, why have we decided to put this long-term plan in place?
Well, Wendy, we always had a national strategic plan at the National HIV/AIDS Commission. Every 5 years, there is a plan because we usually conduct research and we do investigations, and as a result, we build up our plan based on our data and our research. This year's National Strategic Plan focuses on HIV and STIs. We look at reduction of this. We look at our vulnerable groups. We look at our civil society partners. And basically what the National HIV/AIDS Commission does is we want to educate the public. We want to bring behavior change. We want to make persons aware of some of these issues that we are facing so that we can reduce the levels of STIs and HIV and risky sexual behaviors as well.
Okay. Now, Tiffany, you work with Anonymous Hope and you would be in touch with some of the sex workers who we do have. Now, what are some of the dangers that they're placing themselves at, you know, in recent times in terms of these diseases? Tiffany?
Pardon me?
I asked you what are some of the things that our sex workers are placing themselves at risk of in terms of their behaviors in relation to the STIs and HIV.
I can't hear you properly, sorry.
Okay, Tiffany seems not to be hearing us this morning. So I'll come to you, Cecilia. You said you have been researching it. So what has it shown in terms of our sex worker population?
Now, we need to change behaviors, recognizing the dangers of having unprotected sex and the dangers of not using condoms consistently Persons can't use a condom today, not a condom tomorrow. We have to make sure that we have consistent condom use and correct condom use. So we usually have education for our civil society partners, and Anonymous Hope is one of our civil society partners as well.
Okay, now I'm glad you spoke to correct condom use, because there are people who will use condoms but still not use them as effectively as they should be used, especially something like the female condom in terms of sex workers. The commission still gives free condoms?
Yes, please. We give free condoms to any walk-ins. We give free condoms to every person that is walking in. And we also provide lubricants as well so that persons can practice safe sex. We also provide education. We have pamphlets. I'm here in the office at any time. Any person wants to walk in and have a conversation with me, I'm available. We do free workshops at public and private sector agencies. We go to churches. So we are here to provide education, behavior change interventions to any of our civil society partners, and basically reduce the levels of HIV. And we try to be really creative, because we have to find creative ways to reduce the levels of HIV in this during this time.
If I can try Tiffany again about the work that Anonymous Hope has been doing, how have you been helping in trying to control the spread of HIV and STIs?
Well, like Cecilia would have mentioned, she gave us free condoms. So right now, because we was in an up and down. So right now, we haven't been doing much. But for the past few weeks, we have been contacting Cecilia, and the ladies have been getting a lot of help in terms of healthcare and condoms and lubricants and what's not.
Okay, now in terms of them speaking about a change of behavior, some people would say that maybe a client might be willing to pay more if you refuse to use the condoms and so on. But you, Tiffany, what do you try to tell some of the women that you work with about these kinds of risky behaviors?
Well, to be honest, I haven't really had much conversations with the ladies pertaining to that. Because like I have told you, we now trying to get back off of the ground.
Okay, so in trying to get back off of the ground, what is one of the first things that you want to address with these ladies?
There's so many things I don't even, excuse me, I'm kind of nervous.
No need to be nervous. Just talk to us about what you do and how you're aiming to help these ladies, because they must need the assistance.
Okay, well, first of all, we want to be a voice for them. Sorry. Yeah, we want to be a voice for them, because some of the ladies is scared to come out and speak up. We what to say? We just here to help the ladies in terms of, like I said before, if they want health care, we're looking to get. Some of them was saying yesterday when we had a meeting that even they need police protection. So we're trying to get that as well. However, we could get help for them, because some of them is being unfair. Even by some of them is saying, even by the law itself, they must get unfair.
Okay.
So that's one of the ways that we trying to help them, to see who we could reach out to in terms of getting help for them in that aspect.
All right, Cecilia, if we can come back to you now and look at some of the partnerships we're looking to create. Now, it's not only about the education and the assistance in terms of medical and the condom use and education, but also we're looking at issues of finance, we're looking at issues of discrimination, and we're also looking at the psychological impact on these women. How has the HIV/AIDS Commission been able to assist in this regard?
Well, before the pandemic, we had a workshop for the ladies, and they came out in the numbers, and we invited persons from these different social agencies so they can meet with the ladies and see how best we can come together as a body, social work agency, as you would have heard the Minister Humphrey speak to that, about amalgamating these services so that we can provide a holistic approach to the assistance that we will give to the ladies. We help them with, for example, we have enrolled them in Polytechnic Vocational Training Board. We're working with the Ministry of Youth to make sure that we look to their educational needs. We're looking at working with the families. We took them to church on Valentine's Day, a church volunteered Valentine's Day dinner for them. And we want to partner with the churches as well. We provide psychosocial support. I'm there, let's say, 24 hours a day, to be honest. Sometimes they call me late at night with a crisis, sometimes a medical crisis, sometimes it's some of another nature, to make sure that they feel comfortable with me, because, we're reaching into a new vulnerable group. And this is the first time that, this is 3 years, but this is the first time that I have a sex support group. So this is a new thing for the National HIV/AIDS Commission. But next 2 weeks, I'll be going out into the bars and the shops to let the bar and shopkeepers know that I'm here, I'm available. We provide free services for condoms. We provide education. We provide social support. So we just want to make sure that the public knows that we are here just in case they need us. We want other civil and social society agencies to know that we are here too, and what our voice is as it relates to discrimination and stigma against these ladies.
Okay. Tiffany, if I can have you back, how long have you been running Anonymous Hope?
From 2019. We was women empowerment before, but I decided to change the name because we want to reach out to the whole sex work community, not ladies only. And to me, the name was only speaking to women because our name was Women Empowerment Movement. So I changed it last week or week before when I was having a conversation with one of the persons in charge overseas. And it was like, you know what? Anonymous Hope is a better name. So yeah, that's our name.
Okay. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned it's not just about the women, but do we have a lot of male sex workers out there as well who are also vulnerable and being victimized too?
Yes, that I've heard of, but they have not reached out to us.
Okay. Well, let's hope they're watching the program and they know there's someone there to help. Now, before we wrap up, Cecilia, can you give me any up-to-date stats on where we are now in terms of our HIV and STI numbers, and what is most prevalent in terms of the STIs?
Well, I don't have the stats to hand, Wendy, but what I can say is that the National HIV/AIDS Commission, no matter the statistics, one is too much. One person is too much for the National HIV/AIDS Commission. So we're looking at reducing our numbers with HIV and STIs. We work very hard at providing condoms, producing programs, finding creative ways and means to see how we can target our populations of vulnerable groups. So we have a mandate to reduce, we have a mandate to educate, we have a mandate to change behavior, and that is our focus with respect to reaching the objectives for our National Strategic Plan.
Okay, so what in terms of the STIs is actually out there? What's most prevalent now?
You still have the gonorrhea, and you still have the syphilis, and all these are sometimes not highlighted as much. Persons would probably sometimes highlight HIV because they feel that with HIV, there's a death sentence. But what I want to say is that with education and with constant testing, that you can live a long life and a productive life as well. And I just want all the persons out there to just come and support the National HIV/AIDS Commission's fight at reducing HIV. We take donations to help our partners. We can come to your church. We can come to your business places and give you, have a conversation as to see how best you can contribute to this transformation of these ladies' jobs. Whatever you have, please give us a call. We're willing to work with you.
Okay, now I'm glad that the Commission is doing that, and I'm also happy that Tiffany and Anonymous Hope are there to support all of those vulnerable groups within this sex work industry. Ladies, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Let's hope that the strategic plan can work within the 5 years at minimizing these numbers. Do have a great morning.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Have a great
You're
morning.
welcome.
Can I share any other communities out there that's willing to give us support? Because
go ahead.
When the pandemic had hit, it's been hard for the sex workers. There's a lot of them who's out of jobs right now, and it's kind of hard financially. So any other communities out there that could give us a little support, we would be grateful.
Okay, thank you. Let's hear that. Hope that they heard your call, Tiffany, and they do come out and help and not discriminate. Ladies, again, have a wonderful morning.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Morning Barbados will be back after the break, and we'll tell you all about someone else who's in need of your help.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. This is not such a happy one, but it's something that we need to hear and we need to come out and support. I want to welcome John Ruitt, who is pushing the Help Save Mackay Fund. Now, this is a little boy who needs some help with some medical expenses. He was born with cyanosis cardiac disease and severe pulmonary atresia, and the medication he's currently on will not help him to survive much longer. So he needs that additional medical intervention. Good morning to you, John.
Morning, Wendy.
Yes. Now, how did you come across little Mackay?
Last week I got a telephone call from Dr. Maria Chase Highland, highlighting the fact that there was this little boy who was in desperate need of help because the medication, pulmonary atresia is like when the pulmonary valve in the heart starts to actually close down, and the medication will only keep him alive for a couple of weeks. So I have opened an account at CIBC, which I see at the bottom of the screen there. Thank you all so very much. The account number, I believe, offhand is 100-121-9745. I just got the information last night that Mackay and his mom had done a fly out to Bogota, Colombia, to La Cardio Hospital, which specializes in infant cardiovascular surgery, this morning. So the account is doing well. People are donating, and I'm just trying to keep it going because thankfully Sandy Lane Trust covered the cost of the air ambulance, which is very expensive, I think over $80,000, which will leave us with probably in the region of $93,000 left, which I believe that as citizens of this country who, if you could think if it was your child, you would want somebody to help you. Because without the surgery, he will absolutely die. There's no question about that whatsoever.
Okay.
So I appreciate everything that people have done so far in the last 3 days.
Yeah, and that's a lot, because when you're faced with the notion that, you know, you only have 2 weeks left to life and you yourself may not be a wealthy individual, but you love that child, you know that that child will have a purpose and amount to something in this life. So it's good that you have come on board to push the cause, John. I mean, yes, you're well known and, you know, your friends will support, but we need the rest of Barbados to support as well, especially in terms of our children and their needs.
Every little bit is, it is such a true saying that every little bit helps. Because I mean, the prognosis for surgery is not like a 98% chance, right? It's more like 50%. But at the end of the day, if it was your child or anyone else's child, even if the opportunity of survival was 2%, you would want that. You would do every single thing to save your child's life. And when you think about that from that perspective, if it were your child, then you realize that, every little bit, every single bit help, every $20, every $50 will all add up. So
Okay.
I really
So
hope we can get this done.
whose name is the account in when we go
The
to the
account
bank
is the
to
name.
deposit?
Help Save Mackay is the name of the account. It's a checking account, 100-121-9745 at CIBC Warren's branch.
Okay.
So,
And I just want people to remember that you can also bank online, so you don't have to be in Barbados to support
Yep.
the cause. You can be within the diaspora and help to save this little boy's life. And it's not even a situation, John, because, usually you would do benefit concerts and things like that to help others. But there's not even that much time to try to pull something together like that.
well, if he flies out this morning, so I have actually started, because I'm not, $93,000 is not $93. So within the next 2 days, I'm going to make a decision, probably in the positive, that I may have to do an event quickly. So like it won't be as elaborate as the cricket games and stuff with all the artists that I've done in the past, but I'm gonna drum something up, and if I can come up with something within the next 2 days, I will do something within the next 2 weeks. It'll be a push, but you have to do everything that you can. Not to do everything would be sinful.
Yeah, because it's not only about the immediate operation, but there are also going to be aftercare costs to the mother.
Correct, yes.
And the medications that he will need coming out of the
Yes.
surgery.
The actual medication is very expensive, because I've been within the last 6 days, I've been Googling all kind of cardiovascular situations so that I can be up on it and I know what the challenges are, and you're absolutely correct on that. There will be follow-up costs and that kind of thing. So everything that goes towards it, I'm seeing it where I will more than likely have to do something. But so I'm on that, and hopefully I can finalize that within another couple of days. But right now, every single cent into the account adds up to pay for the surgery that they have agreed to do.
Okay. What drives you, John, to help with these things? It's not like he's your neighbor, your cousin, your nephew, or any of those things, but your heart just grows even bigger and goes out when you hear that there's a need.
What drives me? I have been asked a few times, why do I do what I do? And the only answer I can think of is because I can. I watched my wife die from lung cancer 10 years ago, day by day, and after that, I started to live my life in every moment that I was in. And for whatever reason, the universe, God, call it whatever you choose to call it, has placed me in a position where I can help. And that's all I do, really. It's just a matter of if you can help somebody. If we all live that way, where we help one person, then the help comes back around. What goes around comes around. So there's a drive that when you give service to others, there's a special feeling. I don't do it for the feeling. I'm just expressing the way that you do feel when you do that. But basically, my answer has always been, I do what I do because I can. That's
And
all.
I guess if more of us get that can-do philosophy within us, then we will look to help more people, because at the end of the day, everyone needs help at some juncture of their life.
We all do.
We
Yeah,
all do.
being there.
And we also want to thank the Sandy Lane Charitable Trust for coming on board to assist with the air ambulance, because, as you said, it's not cheap, and to see a child suffer is a different type of pain. You don't have to know the child, you don't have to know the child's parents or any other relative. Just seeing a child in pain,
His mother's being so strong. Hadana, I went down to the hospital to meet her outside because he's been in ICU. He actually presented late. He went home and survived on his own for 17 days before all of a sudden the pulmonary started to close down and he started to turn blue. And so that is a good sign, but he's been kept alive the last 10 days. So he had me another 10 days to survive. So I'm really pleased that he is flying out, and thanks, Emily and Trust, yeah. But his mom has been incredibly strong. She is going through every emotion imaginable, and, you know, hats off to her, really, Madonna.
Yeah, hats off to her, and hats off to all of you who will come out and support this cause. Give to the bank account, send a prayer for little Mackay, send a prayer for his mom, Hadana, and for John and all the others who are looking to help in as much as they can. John, I'm sure whatever benefit it is you will pull together, you come, let us at Morning Barbados know so we can continue to push the cause, because again, it could be any of us or any of our children who need this assistance. So thanks for having the big heart you do. Let's say a prayer for Mackay, everyone, and let's go on out and donate to the account at First Caribbean. Give us the numbers again, John.
Account number 100-121-9745. I don't know how I remember these things offhand. Oh, there it is on the screen.
Yes, it's there. I'm not sure how you do, but I'm glad you do. So let's all help to save Mackay. The account name is Help Save Mackay. It's with CIBC First Caribbean Warrens branch, and it's a checking account, number 100-121-9745. The branch code is 9326, and the SWIFT code is FCIBBBBB. So remember, you can go into the bank, you can donate, you can do your online banking and send it. Doesn't matter if you're in the diaspora, we know how wire transfers work. So let's all get together and help save Mackay. Thank you so much for coming, John. And again, thank you for having that huge heart that you have.
Thank you.
Yes, let's all send out our prayers for little Mackay this morning. Well, we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll give you an update on our news.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. These stories always make you think about your own life and the lives of your children and what you would do should it happen. And I mean, it's a little difficult for us to predict exactly how we would act and what we would do. But I always remember something my mom said to me, and that's to be kind and to speak with everyone you meet. Because if anything should happen to you on the road, you never know who's going to pick you up. And just remember that this morning. We don't have to loan little Mackay or his mom Hadana. We don't even have to think about who they are. Let's just know that a life is at stake, and if it were yours, you would want someone to render you that assistance as well if you were not in the financial position to help yourself. So let's all have a heart this morning and move toward helping little Makai. You know, a mother's love is just something different, and the emotions you go through when your kids are sick, no one can really relate. I mean, yes, dads also go through those emotions, but children most times have a tendency to curl up in mommy's lap if anything goes wrong. So just go on out and help save that life today. Now, here's just a reminder to you of those account numbers, because I don't know, maybe your head might be just like mine and I never remember numbers quite well. So here again is the information for you to be able to go on and help this little boy. I wish the pilot a safe flight in getting him over to that children's hospital, the Wolfson Children's Hospital, as he looks to get that surgery started, but the balance still has to be paid for it to be continued and for his treatments. So let's go on out and help him. There are also a couple other things coming up this morning. I want you ladies to be sure to tune in, because we're going to be talking about ectopic pregnancies, since we're talking about our little ones and, you know, babies being sick. We're going to have the doctor in with us this morning, and we're going to be looking at ectopic pregnancies and how they impact on us as women. You know, I always say a woman is really strong. She's the mother of earth, because without us, you know, there would be no life. But we have to pay attention. And now it's time now to speak with our Shane Seeley to see what new he'll be birthing in our news segment.
Thank you, Wendy. Here's your headline news for this Wednesday morning. Major changes are being made to the public service come next week, aimed at streamlining and making it more efficient. That's a word from Prime Minister Mia Motley while responding to a question posed during last evening's St. Joseph Speaks.
I've taken some decisions. I've spoken to the head of the public service. As of next week, there are going to be 2 PSs dealing with 2 different things that are intended to streamline and bring about efficiency. And then there's another section that's literally dealing with coming out. I've promised the country we are going to look at all of those human resource issues in the public service that have remained unresolved, and therefore we're going to have a dedicated framework both for regrading, for the issue of regrading, which is still, with the best will in the world, likely to take about 18 months to 2 years, because you're going through thousands of posts. But secondly, we need to establish the Public Service Appeal Board. We need to ensure that the flexi time, which we used good during COVID, but we need now to use it in a non-shutdown environment so that everybody understands how it can work.
That's Prime Minister Mia Motley. Meanwhile, there's an appeal to Barbadians and by extension the government to show loyalty in supporting the agriculture sector in the face of recent price increases. The call from the Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Society, James Paul, comes as he reveals that consumers are already paying more on the retail end for poultry, meat and other agricultural produce. But he says while retailers seem to be moving to increase prices, some producers are still holding strain in the face of outside competition.
In respect of the poultry, I do understand that some prices have already gone up. This is at the retail end. In terms of the producers, I think that there are producers still who have not taken up the prices. I want to say so because one of the things that they have been trying to get guidance from is in terms of trying to determine, talking to a lot of them, is that they're not sure how they can increase and if they can increase and the amount. So I would say that at this point in time, it is a mixed situation where they haven't been, though, at the farm gate level, there haven't been a unanimous increase in prices at the same time, because there are some persons who are still competing heavily in terms of trying to keep their prices down.
A total of 469 people, 193 males and 276 females, tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. These were from a number of cases, a number of tests, and 1,952 tests carried out by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory on Monday. Of the positive cases, the bulk of them, 330, were 18 years and older. There were 95 people in isolation facilities, so the number of people in those facilities has dropped to under 100 for the first time in recent days. while 4,340 people were in home isolation. As at May 16th, there were 434 COVID-19 related deaths. And we are also being told this morning to look out for major developments in the housing sector within the next few weeks and months. The Housing Minister, Dwight Sutherland, is standing by his word that 49 people affected by Hurricane Elsa should be in their homes within the next 6 months. Furthermore, he says the massive relocation of squatters from Rock Hall in St. Philip will officially begin next week. Minister Sutherland says it's all part of a massive drive in the housing sector to get Barbadians into their own homes. He outlined the plan as he piloted a resolution through the House of Assembly, and this is to vest 14 acres of land at Fair Valley in Christchurch to the Barbados National Oil Company Limited. The minister said this year they intended to build 1,400 homes, including at Parish Land Extension, where the former Rock Hall residents will live, but he has issued this warning.
Don't go up there and mount no more houses. We have demarcated the area. No more houses will build in Rock Hall. It's an environmental hazard up there and an accident waiting to happen. And we are relocating. Work started by the member for Christchurch West. I am carrying on the work. So you will join me, member, on Monday as we seek to demolish and relocate 7 to 8 houses, structures.
Headline News, I'm Shane Seeley. It's back over to you, Wendy.
Why, thank you, Shane. Now, I just want you little ones to gear up and get close to your phones, because after the break, it will be time to win.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's time for Spell It with Pediasure. Are you going to spell it in 30 seconds?
Yes, good morning. It's that time again. It's time for you little ones to show me how well those brains are working and how much you remember in terms of your vocabulary and your spelling. Yes, it's time to spell it with Pediasure so you little ones can win. Spell the word. Give me a call, 228-5562 or 228-5563, and spell the word for me. Remember, encourage your parents to go on out to the supermarket and get you that Pediasure. Why? Because it's great for your little bones, your teeth, your brain, keep your immune system functioning. And not only that, it comes in some fantastic flavors. And let's see. Good morning to you. Now remember, listen to your phone and not your television. Good morning. I'm not hearing clearly. She's chatting in the background. Remember, when you call us, you're calling to spell the word. You only have 30 seconds, so there's no room for playing about. Listen to your phone, not your television, and spell the word with me. Now, clinically proven with a range of tasty options for you. It helps those little bodies, your brain and eye health, muscle support. Good morning. Good morning to you.
What's the word? Good morning.
Yes, good morning. The word is angelic. Angelic is this morning's word.
Angelic.
Yes, that's correct. Go one more time.
Angelic.
Good. And what's your name, little one? Okay, don't go off the line. Stay on the line and give all of your information to our producer so that mommy and daddy can help you collect your prize.
That was Spell It, brought to you in association with Pediasure.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And it's time for Doc Talk. I want to welcome Dr. John Barker, our consultant obstetrician gynecologist this morning. And we're going to be talking ectopic pregnancy. He'll tell you exactly what that is and how we deal with it. Good morning to you, Dr. Barker.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm fine.
Okay. Now, what is ectopic pregnancy?
An ectopic pregnancy is essentially a pregnancy that is not in the uterine cavity, because normally in most people you will get a pregnancy in the actual womb itself. So an ectopic pregnancy is any pregnancy outside of the womb, and it can be in the tube, which is the fallopian tube, which is the most common place it could be. It can be on the ovary, and it can be in the abdomen itself. And the incidence is around 1 in 90 pregnancies.
Okay, so you mean it could just be floating around within your stomach, but not actually connected to your tubes or within the womb? How does that happen?
Yes, right. Very rarely, sometimes the egg, when it's fertilized, doesn't travel through the tube. And then as a result, it gets its blood supply from around like the bowel and stuff. So these pregnancies sometimes they might progress or sometimes to form what you call an abdominal pregnancy, but most of the time some of them will cause issues. But
No.
that's very rare.
Okay, but it sounds very risky though, in terms of how it will be impacting on a woman's body. What are some of the factors?
Right. So the major thing with ectopic pregnancy is bleeding, and sometimes you can bleed that much that you can collapse. Very rarely it can result in death, but it is a gynecological emergency. Sometimes it can acutely present with acute abdominal pain, and sometimes you can get what we call a syncopal attack, meaning that the blood pressure is low, so you actually feel dizzy and faint. But in the majority of patients, usually they're caught early, or if they are ruptured, they're usually stable.
Okay, so are there any particular groups that might be more predisposed to suffer with an ectopic pregnancy than others?
Right. So essentially, when the egg travels down the tube, um, inside the tube are like small, like hair-like structures called cilia. So it should be in a particular motion. So if, for argument's sake, you had like a chlamydia infection, this would cause havoc with the tubes, and sometimes it can cause tubal adhesions, and this will increase the risk of ectopic pregnancy. This is either symptomatic or asymptomatic chlamydial infections, or if you had any gonorrhea infections as well. Sometimes if you had previous tubal surgery, or if you had a previous infection in the pelvis, this can predispose to ectopic pregnancy. And once you had one ectopic pregnancy, you're automatically at risk for another ectopic pregnancy. And the other risk factor would be sometimes you can have copper T's or marina coils in the uterus. These prevent intrauterine pregnancy, but sometimes if they fail in the unlikely event, you're at higher risk for an ectopic pregnancy. So the rule of thumb is that if you have a positive pregnancy test with a copper IUD or Mirena, if you have a positive pregnancy test, then you need to get scanned as soon as possible. Or if you had a previous ectopic, you need to get an early scan as well.
Okay. Now, what are the symptoms that will let me know whether or not I have an ectopic pregnancy?
Right. So usually they will present between 5 to 7 weeks most commonly. And the most thing is pain. So any pregnant person complaining of pain, especially early pregnancy, should see either their GP or a gynecologist to get an early scan. So it's abdominal pain, which can be sharp, either left or right sided. Sometimes it can have bleeding as well associated with it. In addition to shoulder tip pain. The shoulder tip pain occurs because of you get what they call diaphragmatic irritation. So that if you have any blood in the tummy, sometimes it can irritate the diaphragm. But the more common, depending on how severe the bleeding is, you can either get the dizziness because of the blood loss, or you can have what we call a syncopal episode, meaning that you fainted, and then some people, depending on the history, may say that they had a fainting episode. So this will point towards an ectopic pregnancy.
Okay. Now, I asked you before about predisposition, but in terms of how I present as a female, is there anything in my history that would point me or alert me to the fact that I could be one who may have an ectopic pregnancy?
Right. So most people would have done a pregnancy test at home. So that's the first thing. So they would know that they're pregnant. Some people or some patients might present with abdominal pain, but when they come to the doctor, then they find out that they're actually pregnant or early pregnant. But if most people would know that they're pregnant with pain and bleeding, and most people would be thinking that they may be miscarrying, but on the other flip side, one of the actual differentials would be an ectopic pregnancy. Very rarely, as you see in the slide there, sometimes you can have, most of the time you have a positive pregnancy test. Sometimes if the level of the hormone of pregnancy is very high, rarely sometimes that can give a negative pregnancy test. So that's why it's important to see a doctor as soon as possible if you're having any pain or any bleeding like that. Sometimes it can be completely asymptomatic, meaning that you had a positive pregnancy test, and when we scan you just for like viability scan or some issue that you had, then you realize that there's an ectopic pregnancy, because sometimes you can see the actual live pregnancy in the tube on an ultrasound. It doesn't happen too regular, but it will give you a suspicion that there is a pregnancy in the tube.
Okay. Now, how do I get to discover it? What do I come to you to have done? Do I take an ultrasound? Do I have an internal examination? What do I do?
Right. So when you see the doctor's history examination and the investigation. So from the history, we went through that. The examination, essentially what we look for is tenderness in the lower abdomen and what we call rebound or guarding. Sometimes when we examine the tummy is a bit hard and rigid, and on internal examination, what we look for is cervical excitation, which is essentially tenderness when we move the cervix, and then we would actually you wiggle the cervix to see if you're tender, then we go left and right, and in the middle when we do the genital exam. So these are the positive findings that we would look for. And then on investigation, there are the blood investigations, which is the beta HCG. And essentially, this should double or increase by 66%. Because sometimes we might not get a clear-cut diagnosis of ectopic pregnancy. So essentially, what we have to do is serial beta HCGs. And these should increase by 66% or more, or double. So essentially, if you have a graph, it would increase exponentially. If it's ectopic, it will plateau. So it will look like a flat, it will go up, and then it will be flat lining. So this will give you an idea if it's ectopic pregnancy or not. And the next thing is the ultrasound scan. The ultrasound scan, you can get variable findings on the scan. Sometimes you can have an empty uterus, and sometimes you can have a ectopic mass. In the picture that I have on one of the slides, that's a classic example. But more commonly, you would get a sac, which is one of the things that we look for when you're pregnant. But there's a particular type of sac which is called a pseudo sac. The picture that I'm showing you now, the green arrow points to the uterus, and the light blue arrow points to the what we call adnexal mass. So, and then the dark blue arrow is what we call free fluid. So if somebody presents and we do an ultrasound scan, this is a classic example, so it's clear cut. So what it shows is an empty uterus, because there's nothing in the actual uterus itself. And then it shows an adnexal mass with free fluid. So with the three of those, the deduction would be that you have a positive pregnancy test. So you likely have a ruptured ectopic pregnancy.
How do we manage it, Dr. Barker? What's the management of it like?
Right. So there are three types of management. Expectant. And if you do expectant management, it would be if the patient is extremely stable, there's a drop in blood level of the pregnancy hormone, which is the HCG, and the patient is amenable to follow up, meaning that they have to be followed up every 24 to 48 hours to make sure that they don't become unstable or they're not at risk for rupture or anything like that. This management usually is not the mainstay, because most people would present with a more advanced ectopic pregnancy. Sometimes you can have an ectopic pregnancy, and essentially what happens is that it essentially miscarriages through the tube, so you get what you call a tubal miscarriage. These are cases, and as long as you're not symptomatic or anything, that you can monitor conservatively. The next management is medical, and we have to meet a certain set criteria for this. And in terms of medical management, what we give is a drug called methotrexate, and essentially what that is a cancer drug, but it's an antifoliate antagonist. So essentially what it does is it stops the trophoblastic cells from dividing. So as a result, the levels of the HCG drops. You must be clinically stable, and they must have adequate follow-up, and the ectopic pregnancy must not be ruptured, or you must not have blood in the abdomen, and there must not be any fetal heart. Now, the reason for this is that if a patient is clinically unstable, medical management isn't indicated. It's actually contraindicated. For the blood values and stuff, if they are higher, the risk of failure is increased. So that's why we have certain criteria to meet before we actually advise methotrexate therapy. And the last,
what are we talking about there?
Right. So in terms of the fetal heart, because sometimes when we do ultrasound scans, we actually see the fetal heart beating. So if the fetal heart is beating, the risk of the therapy failing is higher because the pregnancy is more advanced.
Okay, I see. Now, what about the surgical management now for ectopic pregnancy?
Right. Surgical management, the gold standard is keyhole or laparoscopic surgery compared to laparotomy. The only time that you would consider laparotomy is if the patient is clinically unstable, but it all depends on the person who's actually doing the actual surgery itself. Because in most people, once they're stabilized, are amenable to keyhole surgery. The advantages would be less blood loss, less pain, and early discharge and early ambulation compared with the laparotomy. So, for argument's sake, if you get a laparoscopic, what we call salpingectomy, removal of the tube, if you get it today, then the next day you'll be home. Or depending, you can, if you do it early in the morning, you can send the patient home in the afternoon.
Okay, so what about in the event that this patient is a bleeder?
Right. So for argument's sake, most of the blood loss is actually small, but sometimes you can get people that are actually like bleeding like 1 to 2 liters. Sometimes, like early in training, you had about 3 liter blood loss. So those would have been amenable to laparotomy, and essentially the survival is good because as long as you have the blood to replace what is lost, the patient usually recovers very quickly. But the problem is diagnosing it early, and sometimes some patients would present late. So the problem is that the later you present, the increased risk it is to the patient.
Okay, now we have an image of what the surgical management looks like. Can you walk us through this in terms of the uterus and what the laparoscope is actually doing?
Okay, right. So
right, surgical management. I believe it's the slide where we're looking at the
picture
image of the uterus, the red picture here. Yes. Walk me through what's going on here.
Yeah, right. So essentially, the image on your left, this is inside a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. So essentially, it's quite reddened and dark, and it's not usually the clear image that you get because the blood absorbs the light. But essentially, the blood is the dark fluid in there. The uterus is the structure in the middle, and where the yellow mark is where the tubal pregnancy is, or the ectopic pregnancy. The bowel is at 6 o'clock, and the bladder is at 12 o'clock. On the image on the right, where you see this like ball in between the two instruments, that's the ectopic pregnancy because we're holding up the actual tube itself to actually show where the actual ectopic pregnancy is. So essentially, the management then would be removal of the actual tube itself.
Okay. Now, a lot of people, when they have this surgery, you said sometimes you can go home the day after. Are there any particular issues that you might have, like say hypertension, what have you, where you may not be able to do that and you'd have to monitor them for a bit longer?
Usually with the surgery, no, because most of the time the patients who are present with ectopic pregnancy are usually young, fit, healthy people. So in terms of the chronic illnesses like diabetes and high blood pressure and stuff, you would hardly see those patients in terms of presenting in the hospital. But as long as the blood pressures and stuff are controlled, because usually with the ectopic pregnancies, if you don't bleed that much, then technically the blood loss doesn't really play a part in it because sometimes you can lose like 100 mils of blood, which the body then compensates for. But if you have any other medical comorbidities, then what we would do would be to talk to our colleagues to make sure that they're adequately managed. But usually it is unusual for people with ectopic pregnancies to spend more than 2 days in hospital.
Okay, well that's great to know. Let's talk about that recovery time now.
Right, so in relation to recovery, if you use the medical management, which is the methotrexate, once the values are essentially down to 0, you have to wait about 6 months before you get pregnant. This is because you have to remember that the medication essentially blocks pregnant cells from dividing. So that's the first thing. With the laparoscopy, the recovery is much quicker because the scars are minimal and there's lead blood loss. So as long as, and even if you had a lot of blood loss, then as long as you're transfused up and stuff, you should be able to go home within 24 hours. The only issue would be with some women is psychological support, because most women would be thinking that they have lost the pregnancy, and some people recover quicker than some, but we also offer this service if they find that they're not coping with the actual clinical scenario.
Okay, my last question to you. Can there be any tubal damage from these ectopic pregnancies?
Right. So essentially, once you get an ectopic pregnancy in the tube is essentially destroyed. So in terms of guidance, what the guidance is that if the contralateral tube or the other tube is normal, then the management would be removal of the actual tube itself, because we remove the entire tube which is affected, right? The issue would come, for argument's sake, if the patient's next tube is damaged. So then the problem is, what do you do? But the issue there is that sometimes we can cut the affected ectopic tube and remove the ectopic pregnancy, and it's called a salpingostomy. And the problem with that is that you can get out 90% of the tissue, which is the ectopic tissue, but then we have to follow you up because sometimes it can get persistent tissue left in the actual tube. Now, even when that is done, when the tube is repaired, when the tube heals on its own, the problem is that that tube still is at risk for ectopic pregnancy. So that's the catch-22.
Okay. Well, see, women's bodies are so delicate. That's why we need to protect them always. And we have you on that end, Dr. Barker, making sure that they remain in good health and anything that's detected is corrected. I want to thank you for joining me this morning to discuss ectopic pregnancies and all the other topics that you've been educating us on. Have a great Wednesday morning. Okay, that was Dr. John Barker, or consultant here on the Morning Barbados show. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at a special buffet that will be coming up.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're continuing with the ladies. This time it's a little different. It's about education and some of the areas we'll be dealing with. It's a piece coming up in June called Battered, Bruised, Not Broken, an all-white Gatsby Affair ladies buffet brunch. I want to welcome two of my guests who will be part of this buffet brunch, Kimisha King of Queen's Mindset and Chipo Nyandoro Kunzvi, the featured speaker for the event. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good afternoon to the UK.
Yes, we're off to a great day. Now, Queen's Mindset is presenting this buffet brunch, and you're going to have lots of keynote speakers, lots of presentations, and it's all about women shaking the game up. Tell me why you decided to bring it, Kimisha.
So, with Queen's Mindset, our mandate is really empowering women to make sure that we are able to build them up, to encourage them, uplift them. So with this brunch, what we're going to be able to do is that we're going to be able to help those women who would have gone through various things in life. So we're going to be looking at building the self-esteem, building the confidence, empowering them, showing them that they can do it and nothing is impossible for them to be able to accomplish. So being able to do this is actually a dream come true because it's one of our major goals at being able to bring all the women together in one room, especially after things had died down a bit from COVID, so that we can really have that interaction.
Why the Gatsby theme?
Now we want to make it fun and interesting. We don't want it to be boring at all. So get dressed up, seeing everybody in their outfits, looking all lovely. And we wanted the color white because we're looking at purity, So the whole aim is to have them coming together in their white, we're being purified, because the sessions that we will be talking about, we're going to be talking about healing. We're going to be talking about the will to love again. A lot of women have been hurt and they're struggling with being able to forgive. So we're going to be dealing with a lot of that. And then we're going to empower them. So the team gives you that opportunity not to feel so like, oh my God, this is a bit too serious. But we want you to have fun and really explore.
Okay, now one of those areas of empowerment is putting women in charge of their own financial affairs and helping them to manage their skills and to be able to make money from those skills. And Chipo is an expert at doing that. She's coming from the UK, from London, and she's been helping people start and grow businesses using a number of systems to ensure that they profit. Good morning to you, Chipo.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Now tell us, once you're in Barbados in June, what are some of the messages you'll be pushing to help our women understand how they can make their own money?
Well, I think the first thing is it's no secret that when we look at our society, our community, the globe as a whole, we see gender inequality, parity, the glass ceiling effect. And this has always suppressed women, right from the word go. Women have been suppressed. So the message that we want to send out at the brunch is to say it's time to change the narrative. And I guess my topic in its sense is I'm choosing to use my own power. And choosing to use your own power is, in the first place, understanding what choice is. That's the first thing. The second thing is to understand what power is. Why power? What can I do with that power? What can come out of power? And how can I succeed with power? So it's knowing your power, your level, who you are, and how to use that particular power that you've got inside of you in order to become a success. So successful in business, it could be successful in relationships. The formula itself is proven, and you become successful in all things.
Okay, now you work with a number of not-for-profits and you work around women a lot in terms of, trying to equip them with what they need to get ahead. But as you know, there is, like you said, that inequality, that imbalance. And unfortunately, there are areas where the imbalance lies in our education, where some women are able to readily access it and others don't. Those who can understand what the power is, where it lies within them, and how to actualize it. there's still many who don't. There's still many who believe that they are duty bound to only be there for their man, with their man, and neglect who they are and the empowerment of self.
Indeed, that's very correct. But I guess this is what we're doing. When women come together in one place and they're in one mind, what we're doing is we're re-educating one another. We're starting at a level. I might be bold as to say creating a movement. So for us who understand what gender inequality is, what gender parity is, what the glass ceiling is, and understanding that yes, from an educational level, there's some people who have not received these secrets, who have not received the opportunity to also know what's going on and to also know how to change that narrative in their lives. I guess for us women, those who will attend the brunch, we have to be those kickstarters. We've got to be those catalysts that then we don't take it for ourselves. It's not for me to succeed only. It's for me to succeed, but to become a catalyst within my community to also teach those who need to succeed. Because a successful community means it's a successful world, and a successful world means a successful legacy for our future generations.
Exactly. Now, in terms of looking at the generations and the event, tell me, Kamisha, what dates are we looking at, what venues, and what else is in store at that event? Yes, Kamisha? Okay, we're not hearing Kamisha. She seems to be having a little audio challenge there. But if I can get back now to you, Chipo, in terms of looking at where you are within the UK, you know, the developed world, and then looking at some of the other things that you see going on in the world around you, what's your biggest bugbear where all women are concerned?
I think we are in a very good time and season. I come from Africa. That's my origination. I come from Zimbabwe, born in Zambia. So I am well versed with some of the disparities that we meet in terms of a first world versus a third world, if I can say that. But what I am seeing over the past decade or so, and more so I think with COVID coming in, yes, we've lost lives, but there's been this introduction of this new space. The space has been there already, which is our online space. But now we have more access to one another. I mean, you and I already are having a communication via just radio waves. Internet, we're doing this. So I truly believe that there's no more boundaries, if I can say that. I think there's more opportunity in women or men alike who want to dream again. They've dreamt before and maybe they've parked their dreams. But what they want to do now is to say, how do I dream? Who do I connect to? Because it's all about connection. It's power of connection. Who do I connect to that will catapult me or lift me up to that next level where I can actually go towards my goals, where I can actually not only go towards it, but to reach the goals and to attain it. So, you know, I'm excited for this time, for this era, for this age. I'm excited for how people are able to now connect, because who would have known that UK, Barbados, or maybe even Africa and even beyond, we can connect in one mind, in one place, and actually create change that will be global change.
Yes, and once we start one place, the chain will connect. All the dots will connect. Now, Kamisha, before I went off, I was asking you about the dates and venue and all that we can expect once we're part of the brunch, and how do we actually get to sign up?
Perfect. So the brunch is taking place on June 25th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's going to be at the Savannah Beach Club Hotel. That's in Hastings, Christchurch. To register for this event, you can go to our website at www.queensmindset.net. And once you go onto our homepage, you'll see the registration button right there, and you can go right ahead and register. This event is not only catering to persons in Barbados, but like Chipo actually said, we're going to be connected also online. So those persons who may be across the Caribbean or internationally who may want to be involved in this event, you too can come through our online payment. So you can be online and you'll be a part of the event too as well. We actually have some early bird tickets taking place right now. Early bird tickets actually end on May 25th. That's next week, Wednesday. So if you want to make sure you want to save a few dollars, go to our website and sign up there so that you can save some money.
Okay, now that is quite wonderful. Battered, bruised, and not broken, Kamisha. And that's the message that you're pushing. Now, tell me quickly, Kamisha, about some of the other speakers outside of Chipo who we will get to hear from.
So we're going to be hearing from Barbados' well-known Karita D. She's going to be there. She's doing an amazing session. She's going to be talking about healing as well. And then we're also going to have Dr. Suzette Husbands. She's going to be there. She's going to be talking about the will to love again. And then we will have Dr. Denise J. Charles, and she's going to be talking about moving from pain to empowerment. And then we'll have our panelists, which will be Shakira Trotman Chase, along with Carrie Clark as well, and Patrina St. Hill.
Okay, so we have quite a lineup there of powerful ladies who are going to be helping other women break through that glass ceiling. Ladies, I want to thank you for joining me this morning on Morning Barbados. Kamisha King of Queen's Mindset, and Chipo Nyandoro Kunvi, the featured speaker for that event. She is a management and operations specialist, speaker, and trainer, but we can see what she is interested in helping other women reach their potential. Both she and Kamisha King, keep going, because our ladies need that extra push to get and stay in the fight called life. Equality is not here yet, but if we keep pushing, I'm sure eventually the disparity will lessen. Thank you once again, ladies, for joining us, and have a great morning.
Thank you so much.
When Morning Barbados returns, we'll tell you about yesterday's event, which looked at telecommunications. Remember, we were talking about how we're connecting so easily in COVID, but unfortunately, there are some who are outside of the box.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. Now, yesterday marked World Telecommunications and Information Society Day. Yes, that's what it was. This event has been celebrated on the 17th every year since 1969. And the purpose of it really is to look at how we can raise awareness about the possibilities of the use of the internet and other forms of information and communication. And there are a number of societies around the world who look at how telecoms helps all of us and the sharing of information. It's also about looking to bridge that digital divide, which unfortunately COVID-19 showed us is actually there, and there are a number of countries where it's a lot wider. So now we'll hear from the Mr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who delivered a message for yesterday's day.
World Telecommunication Information Society Day is an opportunity to highlight the huge potential for digital technologies to improve our lives. This year, we're drawing attention to the many benefits of digital technologies for older persons. These tools can help older people connect with families and friends, stay well informed, and maintain their health and well-being. The challenge is to make sure that all older people can access these technologies and they don't become another reason that some people are left behind. WHO is proud to partner with the ITU to realize the power of technology for healthy aging and a healthier world.
Yes, we want to thank him for that message, and let's all do what we can to lessen that divide. We'll take a break and we'll be back in a bit.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Do you have a cell phone? What about the desire to be a filmmaker? Now is the time to unleash your creativity and enter the first ever Barbados Film and Video Association's mobile phone film competition. Selected entries will be played nationwide on CBC TV8 with a cash prize for adults of $500 and student prize of $250. For competition rules and to enter, visit the BFVA online at thebfva.com. Prizes sponsored by Caribbean Aerial Photography. Become a member of the BFVA today. It's free! The Barbados Film and Video Association, an association for filmmakers by filmmakers.
And it's time now to talk with those filmmakers about this competition, the Barbados Film and Video Association and its smartphone film competition. To help me is Mr. David Lewis, one of the board members of that association. Good morning to you, David. You're muted, David.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. I was on mute.
Yes.
For having us here this morning. Thank you, viewers. Good morning.
Okay, it's a pleasure to have you. Thought you were giving us a little Charlie Chaplin there, a silent film. Those are always great, too.
And anything is going to be a good experience for these persons taking part in that competition that we're talking about this morning. Here it is that technology has grown to such an extent that people can use their smartphones now to be so creative in every which way and use that opportunity to disseminate their thoughts, their own concepts into a short video, and to have the partnership of CBC to be able to say with the quality of the imaging that's coming that it will be broadcast. That's a great partnership for anyone to have for an association or any opportunity that we can have for these people who are creatives nowadays.
Okay, now we're using our cell phones. So what I want to know is what are the limitations in terms of these videos which are to be submitted? One, is there an age limit in terms of who can send in a video? Two, what's the length of that film be? And three, are there any things which cannot be included in your production?
Well, of course, we want to keep everything as clean as possible, so no nudity, no illicit language, forbiddings, no cuss words, please. In terms of the age limit, once you can hold a cell phone and you think that you can be creative, please, here's an opportunity. Hence why it's divided into two categories. The category for students or youngsters up until the age of 16, and then in the adult category, well, if you want to be a avid user of a cell phone and able to edit everything on your phone, as everybody needs to do as part of the competition, then to 100 year 120. If you're 130, great. Let's all bring this together.
Okay,
You know?
and it's one submission per person.
Yes, I believe it's one submission per person. I will have to double check that with the president, Rivellino. However, if you think that you have more than one submission, I am sure that we could look at it. Our goal here is to get people to be creative, put as much information out there, but let's look at the quality of the videos that we're doing.
Okay, now we're talking 60 seconds to 5 minutes in terms of the length of this piece. And everybody thinks that their work might be the best, they like a particular artist, so they want to sample the music in it, etc. What are your copyright prohibitions?
Well, everything has to be sanctioned by the person's intellectual property that's being used. So if, for example, you're going to use a local artist for that background music, we will need in the documentation authorization from that artist such that they have allowed you to use their music or their voice or anything additional as well, because intellectual property is a very important aspect of the film industry. And as a matter of fact, any industry, you have your intellectual property and you have to look after that. You don't want someone stealing your property, so don't steal anybody else's. So part of the submission would be to be able to have proof that you have these authorizations and or waivers.
Okay, now where do I make my submission? Do I come to your office? Do I do it all online? How am I to send it to you?
Well, the great thing about this is through the association, the Barbados Film and Video Association, we have a portal online. And we're also encouraging membership build. And we're also trying to ascertain who are really the players in our market. So by logging in to the page, signing up as a member, which right now is free, okay? Then you will be able to be given the access to the portal and you can upload your video to the portal.
Okay, now that's a lot of videos that might be coming your way, but I'm sure you have the capacity to handle them all. Now, when do I have up until to get my short film in?
Well, we have to the 30th of this month. I don't think that we'll be extending it, not unless there are a lot of people that say, listen, we want a little bit more extra time. But the deadline right now is going to be the 30th of this month. Right, and I know that with all of the creativity out there, we will have quite a few videos, and so we're going to have a panel of people going through videos to look at each of them for the quality, whether it's a dialogue, whether it's a concept of the video, or combinations of those two, plus a lot of more criteria that will be in the background for discerning which one would be the winner.
Okay, what about the format? What format am I to present the film in?
Well, we will need credits. That maximum of 5 minutes will include your intro, any logos, and at the end you would have all of your credits, who was involved, the name, your name, and all of those criteria should be spelled out on the webpage as well. If not, please feel free to contact myself or any of the other members of the association.
Okay, so I'm going to shoot this short film and I'm going to get it over to the BFVA. Now, outside of this competition, what else are you looking to do to stimulate that interest in filmmaking?
This is just one of the first steps in the association's view of improving the overall quality of film and camera and so on in Barbados. We're going to be offering monthly workshops where people are going to be coming in and giving presentations and having discussions on different topics. We're going to be looking at evaluating all those professionals and their level as it relates to camera and sound and all the aspects, the whole gamut of the whole industry of videography and as such. So there's a lot of scope, a lot of things are happening, and they're happening very fast. I'm happy to be part of this wonderful crew and executive of the Barbados Film and Video Association right now. Everything is just flowing, and think the creativity and the future is looking fantastic.
Well, we're happy. That is fantastic. CBC is happy to be on board, and we look forward to those winning entries after the submissions on the 30th of May, David. It's been a pleasure having you this morning, and best of luck to you in this competition.
Thank you very much, and good luck to all the candidates. And again, thank you, CBC, for being on board this wonderful opportunity to see the creativity that Barbadians have to offer. Thank
Yes, we're looking forward to it. Have a great morning.
Too.
We'll take a quick break and be right back. Okay, well, we are over. We're through for the morning. No breaks here. And I want to just wish one of our avid viewers sincere condolences on the passing of her aunt, Glenda Yard. She watches us every morning, and we are so sorry to hear about your loss. And I also want to wish the Barbados team from the Barbados Horticultural Society all the best as you go for gold once again at the Chelsea Flower Show. They left yesterday, and some are going off today as well. They're going to be there from the 24th until the 28th, and the theme this year is Come Relax in Barbados. They've brought us over 20 golds, so this year should be no different. It's time to wrap up Morning Barbados. Again, remember, it's Wishful Wednesday, and I wish all of you would go out there and help young Mackay with the First Caribbean account to help save his life. Do have a great morning.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you.